Alright, so apparently we're live. Apparently.
Are we though?
Yeah. Yep. I see movement on the screen, so that's a good sign. Alright. Hello. Welcome to Tech Talk, even though we'll probably end up talking about security sooner or later. That's a mouthful of a title.
Is video and HTML? Is video and HTML too?
Yeah, that's how a lot of video sources are built nowadays.
All right.
No, like legitimately, that my video player that I built, it's all HTML5 and JavaScript.
All right. So, Flibber, you said you had a topic. One topic.
Yes. Yes. One in specific. So, I was at work today. That's it.
Typical.
How do we feel about work? I'm just kidding.
I'm tired of it.
I was at work today. Same. My colleague came in, and she was on the phone. And out of respect, I went to turn down the audio on my phone. Well, knowing that my phone was upside down, I thought I was pinching the right side, and apparently I was not. I had pressed the power button 5 times. Now, if you don't know, pressing the power button 5 times sends an SOS and dials the police. So, I ended up calling the police at work today. I don't know how I feel about that feature automatically being enabled. Yes?
Well,
Mage?
you got it.
Is it really a bad thing?
No, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. The thing that I primarily have a problem with is that it didn't ask me, like, when I first started using the phone, like, it didn't say, hey, by the way, there are specific security settings we want you to look at because, you know, we don't want you to accidentally call the police while you're at work or accidentally call them in your pocket because you have the phone in your pocket and you're just trying to listen to music.
See, but Apple actually gives you a notification proving thus Apple is superior.
Yeah, Apple actually, whenever it happens on my phone, it will start vibrating really rapidly, and then just
from what I've heard,
it'll count down 3 seconds before it actually starts calling them.
Yes,
that's what the phone does.
Oof. Yep. And I've heard one of my other coworkers mentioned that her iPhone, you know, makes a loud and obnoxious sound. Her words, not mine. And I'm like, you know, okay, that's fair. Like, if, you know, you need help, like, don't get me wrong, this is a great idea, quite honestly, I think. But
I mean,
I don't know if, because when I was looking through the settings later, when I actually had a chance to, I did not see any setting that said timer. The only setting that I actually saw was disable and press it 3 times or 5 times. And 2 times is my camera, so...
I believe that actually is like a mandatory safety feature that's built into all phones now.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, because you want to have, like, stuff where it's, like, an elderly person falls down, maybe they have their phone on them, they can't really get up or anything like that.
Sure.
And they're starting to lose consciousness, they could be able to hold and press that, and the police can be able to detect where exactly they're at with all that. No, and it's even something like if I'd said, hey Siri, yeah, let's not do that. They also added another feature where if you say, hey Siri, I'm getting pulled over, when you're actually getting pulled over with that, it'll start recording a video camera, and
oh really?
It'll once you end that conversation, it will send it to all your friends on your favorites contacts or your emergency contacts. It will send them that video, so that way, people have evidence besides you of what all went down during that police pulling you over.
Sure.
And this is to help fight back and make sure that there's no corruptions against the police, and this is what Apple did to combat
right.
that.
And from the one article that I briefly read, because I was still technically at work, I thought I saw something that said it was, I think, Marshmallow, or Nougat, Marshmallow or Nougat, when they released it for Android. So I'm wondering, because I've done that before, where I've pressed the power button instead of the volume button, but I've never had it dial the police. Like,
for me, for the iPhone 10, you actually have to press and hold the power and the lock, or the power and the volume down.
That's a screenshot for me.
No. Just press your power button like 6 times.
Well, no, that's also another way of doing it. I have the on the 10.
I have the XR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you just press and hold the volume button, and it'll do it that way too.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I do see, like, it's not really, though, like, a concern. It's mainly just to combat a lot of what is happening in our world.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Realistically, its effectiveness still has yet to be determined.
Right. Because now I'm curious if, like, how many more people they get calls from that say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do this, versus people actually saying, help, I did this intentionally.
But realistically, it sounds like that's really only an Android problem, because if you ignore the Apple one, it's pretty blatant you're trying to ignore it.
Yeah.
Right. And that could be the what I would call the early release of the Android version. Now, I could be wrong. This could have been a thing for a while that I just have been introduced to yesterday. But, I mean, yeah, with the iOS version, you know, like you mentioned, annoying alarm, no way in hell you can miss it, and it counts down. And personally, I would prefer that. Sorry, I got a text from my fiance.
There's also one bad thing about it. Like, let's say, per se, you're in an emergency situation, you need to get a hold of the police, and you're frightened, scared, hiding away in a place. And if you triple tap that, the one downside about, like, Apple's design is like, hey, let's just give away where exactly my location is, right? Because of that loud alarm.
And now the person who's, for example, in my house can hear that, and now they're about to stab you because that gave you away.
But it also gets killed instantly once you slide it.
Now, I do have a question. If someone's willing to test this, if you have the notification slider like enabled to silent, will that still make the noise?
It doesn't make the sound. It doesn't make the
well,
sound.
Then,
my thing is on silent, and it still makes the sound.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that.
Because I feel like if it violet... Ooh, that was loud.
Yeah. The other way...
it's pretty loud.
The other way, when you're pressing and holding it, it doesn't actually make the sound.
Oh, no. Yeah, when you're pressing the volume down, because it will also show the power off feature.
Yeah, it won't make a sound that way.
It doesn't make a sound. It just vibrates saying, like, hey, are you trying to turn me off? What are you doing? Hey.
Which that's a good backup way that you can be able to do that.
And I would personally prefer, you know, the notification slider letting me say, hey, do I want this to be loud and obnoxious? So, you know, the person that's, again, potentially in the house or wherever I am, do I want them being able to hear me, or do I, at this point, do I not care, you know?
Yeah.
Crap. That is
an option.
If
a person entered my house, I'm pretty sure they would just hear a gunshot.
That's all they'd hear. End of story.
Leaf, are you a liberal?
Well, I would only use my gun to actually protect myself if they're actually trying to be able to do it, or just to have them get outside of my house. I wouldn't exactly.
Can I ask what firearm you own?
9mm.
Respectable.
That's the only one I actually own, is just a 9mm. And that's the only gun that's in my house, and it does have ammo in it, but it doesn't have one in the chamber.
That's the smarter way to store firearms.
Yep.
They're in a crisis situation, but safer to store it.
Yeah, and I can easily just pull back the slider and just load one in, no problem. But no, yeah, with it, I wouldn't intentionally just go out and try to harm anybody. I would just use it for my own protection, my own safety, if I feel at risk and don't exactly trust the fact that somebody's
in your home without knowing.
Yeah, without my permission, without any of my consent, that is trying to steal my own stuff. I'm gonna use it at my own force, at my own will.
Right. All right. Do you have a following subject? Anyone, or topic rather? Because that was my main thing. Was like, I wish this was one of those setup features. That was basically it.
Oh, I do have one. So, you guys know haveibeenpwned.com and everything, right?
Yes, I've used it.
Well, so now there are tools. I'm pretty sure you guys know what combos are, right? With hacking, having it's a password and email set.
Yeah.
Oh,
and yeah. So I'm guessing you know what an anti-public tool is, which to make sure your combos aren't public, so the accounts you're selling are private accounts, semi. And that if I were to break down like how that all works, hey Ashley, welcome back to the stream.
Oh, sorry, I have the wrong chat open.
What's it called? So people have found ways now where they're now using Have I Been Pwned as an anti-public source. So pretty much everything their website was designed against, it's being used for.
Right. Seems redundant.
The website or the anti-public tools? Like the anti-public tools, like especially
all the above. Just the general consensus of what's going on. It's just like, well, the point of it was to prevent people's info, or at least being able to protect people even after they've been compromised. But if their stuff is being compromised from the compromised testing website, then it's just redundant.
But the problem is, it's not, you're checking to see if their data has already been compromised and posted publicly. That's what an anti-public tool is for.
Right. Oh, boy. There we go.
And just recently, they've been able to take down a ring of anti-public databases. I think it totaled nearly 8 million users.
Oh, that's...
But pretty much they were able to find that, like, oh my god, someone, like, this does exist.
When some of these websites are actually out to benefit the good instead of the bad.
Right.
I mean, the problem is with anti-publics is it's very difficult to really stop them, because if you were to add like a whole bunch of reCAPTCHAs, you've seen that, like, I legitimately have set up farms for reCAPTCHAs and just pass them in.
Right, yeah.
and there's no point in it. But I can see how some people think that it's effective if we use reCAPTCHAs or things like that. I'm not one of those people, or nor will I ever be one of those people to fully support reCAPTCHAs.
I'm already getting tired.
Security is just an extremely hard issue about trying to be able to deny from bots, especially.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of our fault because we've gotten to a point where bots are getting so advanced.
Not a whole lot we can really do there, though. That's just the evolution of technology.
Well, there is things we could do, but are we gonna do it is the better question.
There's not much we can do. I mean, like, the next best thing, I guess, in my eyes, is like quantum computing encryption. But then by that point, there'll be quantum computing decryption, and then it's like, well, now again, it's redundant.
Well, no, like, bots have nothing to do with encryption, really. It's just the way bots are being used nowadays for checkouts and everything. Like, I've always wanted to know how bots worked and everything, and like, I started looking on how to program one. It's
actually not that difficult.
It's a JSON. I don't know what language it is. Is it Java?
Well, you can program them in about almost any language.
Well, I think for Chrome extensions, isn't it in Java?
Chrome, yeah, it's in Java. Somewhat. It's like their own custom language that they have written. That's an off form of
JSON
and JavaScript. But JSON is JavaScript object notation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just looking into how to write one, and some of these anti-CAPTCHA bypasses are just masterpieces. They're like extremely ridiculous on how it uses Google to its own advantage and makes it think that it's not a bot by thinking it's from Google, but changing the identifications. It's just, we've gotten to a point where legitimately you're fighting with the people who work with the company themselves.
Right.
It's to the point where we can't do anything about it due to the fact that in order for us to do something about it, we would have to pretty much, because people at Google have NDAs, but a lot of them are probably making a side hustle making these bots.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Because some of these bots are developed by like single people. Like, have you guys seen some of the Supreme bots on how advanced they are with their anti-CAPTCHA bypasses? Jesus.
No, and even some of that is also too is some of the people could also be from the InfoSec sort of area too, where they're learning a lot about security and how to be able to infiltrate it and dealing with it. Like Unit 8200 out of Israel, that's a huge InfoSec, essentially the NSA of Israel, and they're one of the highest tech countries in the world.
Yeah, and it's kind of honestly getting ridiculous. Like, we're starting to realize that we're going to eventually need to learn to defend against bots to a point that we're going to need heavier security for it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I'm not afraid to push as much security as possible.
And
yeah,
that's why the future is primarily about security.
It's not primarily about security. Right now, we're more focused on what's it called? On user experience than we are on security. Most firms try focusing on the experience. Yeah.
Yeah, they will push legitimately the user experience over security any day on most corporations that are trying to push a bottom line. That's why it's sad when a lot of systems, like even camera systems that exist out on the internet, that you can be able to search this up on Shodan's website. If you don't know what that is, you can look up IP addresses, you can look up certain ports and stuff like that. That you can even look up like security cameras that are open up to the internet and just watch them from anywhere in the world.
I
mean, Ring and a couple of the other cameras, we found an exploit with their website that pretty much allowed us to, with just the username, we were able to gain access to all their cameras.
Yeah, and that's a terrible thing for even some people where they don't even mess with their username or password, or even stuff like the password on the bottom of the router. Yes, it's secure, but it's not that secure when you have tools that can be able to even easily duplicate it. And you have where some ISPs allow the connection from external routers out on the internet too. And that can be able to communicate it, change it, and then completely take over someone else's internet. I mean, get all their files on their computer and watch and monitor everything they do.
I mean, I don't think many people realize that if we do not start pushing security, we're going to start running into problems.
Most definitely, yeah.
Because there's companies like, especially Facebook, I think aren't they being breached pretty much every month now?
Oh yeah. Yep. I swear every other tech news that I watch is something Facebook being breached related.
I mean, for the most part though, Facebook gets breached through stupid methods. Is really the only way I could say. If your employees are really stupid enough to click on links or download PHP files from some random email, you're kind of asking for it. But there's
You also hired the wrong staff.
Good.
There's also one thing people aren't considering is that these people are being paid to actually click on the link.
Yeah, and there's even some of that too, where like some people are offered hundreds of thousands of dollars just to click on a link and never actually get paid in the end.
Right. Well, I mean, they could also be blackmailed theoretically.
Yeah, that too. They could also some of these phishing schemes could be from some nation state actor where it legitimately is some country trying to be able to infiltrate a security system. It's like how somebody was actually able to get into Google at one point in time too.
Not gonna lie, I didn't hear about that one.
Well, there's reasons why Google is rarely breached, and that's because Google if you can find an exploit with Google, one, you're guaranteed a job there.
Right.
And two, you're guaranteed not to have to work for the next 4 years.
I'm sure you probably have, Ashley. And that's just the thing too, is that Facebook is legitimately a government's hand tool too in the end, to be able to even help find out information on people. They can be able to tell who a person is just by facial recognition software that they have developed that's so advanced.
I mean, the sad part is, though, that companies are starting to get even more advanced than our own government.
Yeah.
Which is extremely sad.
Well, okay. If we're talking about Apple versus the government, there's a reason for that. And that's because... So, everyone thinks that Apple runs off .NET. No, Apple has its own programming language.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah, it's Swift.
Swift.
Yeah.
By the way, if you ever want a guaranteed job, learn Swift. People will legitimately kill.
Go ahead.
For you.
Actually, what's your opinion? But no, yeah, like Swift is actually its own custom language that you literally have to have a Mac device to be able to even program on it, and you can't use another software. That's why I got a virtual machine to run a Mac OS to be able to develop in Swift.
I used to have one. I only got it working once.
No, that's legitimately the reason why I tried having to run a virtual machine to be able to develop in Swift and learn how to be able to make an app.
I just realized I've got an extra computer. I can make it into a Hackintosh. I mean, what?
I mean, but the problem is about Apple is people think that... So, there's only 1 to 2 vulnerabilities that ever happen, and it's very rare for Apple to have vulnerabilities.
Right.
Mainly because, 1, they actually give a damn about their App Store.
Yeah.
2, you can't submit scrambled code to Apple servers. You have to submit source code.
Yeah, you have to submit source code to the Apple servers where they'll have people that legitimately check it and validate it before it can even go live. We won't get actually that far ever unless if somebody's really crazy and wants to actually destroy the world.
Loca la cabeza.
We sadly, we can't even make advanced enough AIs at the moment because of our processing powers. There's too many variables for us to study before we can even get close. Even with quantum computing, I don't think we will actually be able to make all the calculations fast enough to have reliable AI.
Right. Or anything like we see in the movies.
I mean, the thing is, if anyone's going to beat the government to quantum computing, it's going to be Apple. It's gonna be. There's no way it's not gonna be.
Are you getting on Hypixel?
No.
Cause I just keep dying. I'm having so many issues.
No.
But
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Mine can wait.
Which is one thing that also sucks is, if you guys didn't hear, Apple actually lost the lawsuit against Qualcomm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They
that
lost
really
the lawsuit. No one knows how it happened. They're really confused. But
okay,
go ahead, Liv.
It was just gonna bring up about the App Store. That's all. With even something that I even found this security website that tells about exploits and vulnerabilities that have been known. It's one of the stories that they have is 138 Android antivirus apps are frauds in the Play Store. Only 23 are actual apps.
Ha!
Yeah,
I remember this. Wasn't that in the? What wasn't that on the? Didn't TechLink just say something about that?
I don't know. But they even have on here 206 malicious Android adware is on it, downloaded 150 million times off of the Google Play Store.
There are also idiots.
Yeah, that shows how much compared to where you can look on this and you barely even see anything about Apple.
I mean, I think really the really major exploit Apple had was the Pegasus exploit.
Yeah.
And even then, that was very limiting. It wasn't even that bad.
Here's one. Google Product Zero released Apple Mac OS unpatched 0-day exploit. So it was because of Google's fault that Apple had a 0-day exploit. Kind of funny.
I mean, that makes sense because, I mean, the problem is when you're at like that level of being a big dog, you kind of struggle staying on top due to the fact that, well, you simply just can't put every resource you have towards security. Like at Apple, there's teams legitimately dedicated to finding ways to break Apple systems. I mean, is that the correct way to do it?
I would imagine so.
Well, the way Google does it, if you can get it even remotely close to Google's back end, that's an instant $200,000 payday.
Yeah.
And a possible job offer if they think you're good enough to work there. Like, Google legitimately pays black hats.
Oh, yeah.
To report bugs.
And that's
I have seen articles.
That's called bounty.
Bug bounties.
Yeah, bug bounties.
And it's just things people say like, is that really ethical? Like, I mean, what exactly are you trying to argue? The point is when I tell people that. What point are you trying to argue if it's ethical? What do you mean by that? Like, is our security really not a concern to you? Because few of my teachers actually understand how dangerous the internet actually is and why. Some of them, like the other day, my teacher, like, I always pull my laptop out at the beginning of class because it takes my VPN a while because I use a custom DNS to route me through the Tor network.
Yeah.
Oh, really? You're using the Tor network?
I use a custom version of the Tor network.
Oh.
I only go through nodes I trust.
Fair enough.
So pretty much, and it's also double layered encryption and transparency's off. So virtually, by the time you get to the second server, it's impossible to trace further. The only way I know that is because, well, I just, yeah. I've done it to a point where I made it secure enough that I'm comfortable with using it. But also due to the fact that so like I'll pull my laptop out at the beginning of class and my teachers will always ask me what I'm doing because, you know, you're not supposed to have your laptop out, but when you're routing that much traffic, especially on a school's connection that tries filtering everything, like pretty much I have to use a worm basically to like make a hole for me to move, and then install my proxies and everything that will automatically set up and boot me and start rerouting my traffic.
Sorry, I'm trying to hear. I'm playing Block Hunt, so I'm trying to listen for the.
Yeah, no, but I still don't know really how I feel about security nowadays. That realistically, like, without a VPN, your data's pretty much out there to be harvested.
Yeah, it really is.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the only thing you can do about it is, like, even with a VPN, you're really limited on things you can defend against. Mainly due to the fact that it's kind of difficult for really, how would I say this? There's not enough really education out there for VPNs and everything. Like, really, the only one VPN I really trust is kind of NordVPN at the moment.
Kind of NordVPN?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have legitimately done a lot of things with Nord. But it's also... I don't really know how to say it. Is realistically what I'm trying to say here.
You were unable to get around Nord, but you were able to get around the other ones you tried. I don't know.
Well, the difference is Nord actually gives a damn about their customers.
Right. I've heard good things about Nord, not just from you, but from other people.
I mean, Liv uses Nord, I believe.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I don't use one.
I would. I mean, for the things
I plan on it.
I mean, for the things I do, there's certain reasons why I kind of require a VPN. But like, say if I'm just like doing a quick secure penetration test on like Liv's website, I won't bother to like enable.
Longer to try and connect.
Well, no, I won't. I won't really worry about it because I already have consent from the site owner to do penetration testing, so I'm not really going to worry about it due to the fact that like Liv's already given me consent to do these things to the site, and well, there's no really point in hiding it. Now, if I really wanted to give him a full an actual full-on penetration test, I would never tell him when I'm going to test it, and I'll just hit the site at a random time by hiding behind a bunch of proxies and everything to show that if there was a vulnerability, that the vulnerability could be hit and he would never have known about it.
Right. And there's one vulnerability I'm actually worried now that I'm aware of.
Which is?
Ooh, do tell. No, probably not.
Well, I don't know if it's an actual vulnerability at the current time speaking, but it does make me nervous.
You two can discuss that specific later.
Well, it's you kind of already know about it.
I do?
Mage.
Oh, I was gonna say, probably not.
I sent you a picture about it.
Oh, that. Okay, yep. I know. Yeah, no, I understand that. But that's a very hard vulnerability to patch now because it's actually kind of a newer exploit.
No, that's been out for a while.
Well, no, the methods of it actually being used nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Most people don't use it, which, kind of makes me really weird, especially, it's mainly used for Twitter worms. To be completely honest, it's used for Twitter worms.
Yeah. But no, that's something that I'm worried about, but yet I still want to test out. And I actually made it load faster in a certain way where I cache the images and then it deletes after a certain amount of time if the image isn't updated or if the file isn't updated. So that's a thing I added.
I mean, for what?
Go ahead.
One thing I'm kind of concerned about as I slowly start building my studio for freelance is the fact that I'm probably not going to attempt a framework and I'm just going to be using my reseller packages for my clients. But if I choose to go down that road, I don't know if I really want to, due to the fact that I don't think I'll have the ability to vulnerability test as much as, or think of every scenario as much as you do.
I mean, if you two do work together, end up, then theoretically, you could possibly get. Well, I mean, clearly not all of them, but a large majority.
I'm gonna test that. Okay.
I really hate kids with kill aura. But the problem is with just most vulnerabilities is the fact that I don't really know how some of them work. Like, especially with rooting. It's an interesting concept. And in theory, it's good, but it's also extremely difficult to understand some exploits. I don't think people really understand that fact that some exploits are extremely hard to detect.
Yes, they are.
But also, when you can detect them before they're a problem, is when you've kind of secured your back end enough.
Oh, hi. I did not realize you were in this game.
Yeah. What do you mean by my good Xbox games? Oh, good Xbox games? Honestly, I don't play Xbox. I don't really do much gaming.
Console gaming? Or just gaming in general?
I mean, I spend most of my time programming nowadays, so yeah.
Okay, that's kind of good.
What?
So I know it's not going to work there.
I think he's testing certain exploits.
I am.
Same.
No, it legitimately just echoed out hello, or it echoed out PHP echo Olin whatever thing, whatever, you know.
Alright. Well, it's getting kind of late for me.
Same. I mean, it's always been late. It always is late.
I need to get off for school, so I'm gonna thank you guys for. I think we're gonna end the stream.
And I'm just pooped. Liv, I think you're just bored.
Here, let me read your scroll theory. This will be the last thing. Ride donkeys and slave rabbits, like people then take over the earth. But the problem is, those are all passive animals besides squirrels, and squirrels taste like chicken, so I will gladly kill all of them and have a feast.
I did not know squirrels tasted like chicken. Alright, that's new.
They taste like a woody chicken.
Woody chicken.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really what
I've never had squirrel, but I've had rabbit.
Rabbits pretty good.
Yeah, it is. I've also had deer, elk, antelope.
In your government lab.
Buffalo.
Buffalo's really good. Buffalo just kind of has the right amount of fat.
We serve buffalo at where I work.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah, no, but yeah, they're just two passive animals besides squirrels. Those are really the only ones I could see taking over. Alright, well, thank you guys for coming out to the stream. Hopefully next time we stream, I'm not gonna be so late and not gonna be so exhausted.
I went out for a drive, so I was, I'm tired.
Yeah, but at least hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Liv, you got anything to add?
Not much, but thank you for coming again, Ashley, and thank you for chatting.
Yeah, as always. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye.
Have a good night, people. Bye.